Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is a Monday morning. Hope you all have had a fantastic weekend and are ready for the upcoming week. It is the game review to Everton's 1-0 victory against Arsenal at the Emirates. A historical victory for Everton as it's the first time we have beaten Arsenal away from home in over 25 years, I believe, and also the first time Everton have done the league double over Arsenal in 30 years as well. So a massive win historically on Friday night, but also a massive win in the context of this current Premier League season. We really did need to get all 3 points on Friday, especially considering we were the first team to play and the sides that are in and around us have been picking up points in recent weeks where we haven't. 3 draws on the bounce prior to this game. Obviously drawing to Crystal Palace, drawing to Brighton and then drawing to Tottenham last Friday, which was probably the hardest of them all to take because ultimately, we absolutely threw that game away. Tottenham had nothing in that game rather than the 2 shots that we gifted them in the 6-yard box to the most clinical striker in the league. So if we wanted to sort of continue on in this hunt for European football next season and still try and keep ourselves in the hat and keep our names in the hat, we really needed the 3 points on Friday, and that's exactly what we got. Look, was it a classical match? No. Was it the best Everton performance you've seen all season? No. It wasn't by any stretch of the imagination, but ultimately, none of that all really matters in the end of it, does it? It's about the win, and I said it on the videos on Friday night after the game. In this part of the season, at this point in the season, with 6 games remaining, when you've just drawn 3 games on the bounce, it doesn't really matter how you play or how you win, just as long as you win. And obviously Everton won on Friday night through a ridiculous own goal that I still can't wrap my head around, to be honest. I've watched it a number of times back and I still don't quite understand how he manages it, but I don't really care. I'll take that all day long because in my 22 years of watching Everton Football Club, I've seen that situation happen so many times, but the opposite side in terms of Everton conceding a stupid last minute own goal or a stupid last minute mistake to lose us a game of football. So it's about time that it went for us. It's about time that it happened in our favour. And Everton had chances in the game. Look, it wasn't as energetic as of a performance as it was against Spurs. I don't think we pressed Arsenal as much as we pressed Tottenham Hotspur, but we still weren't out of the game. We had a couple of other opportunities within there. Arsenal were really poor, really poor. I think Arsenal showed, and this is no disrespect to them as a football club, but I think Arsenal showed that they are just a bang average mid-table side on Friday night. But that bang average mid-table side would have been level on points with Everton had they would have won. So again, like I said, within the context of this Premier League season and within this race for Europe and our ambitions of finishing in a European position come the end of the season, this was an absolutely massive win. It puts us, I think, within 3 points of Chelsea, Liverpool and West Ham before obviously those sides played. Liverpool dropped points to Newcastle on Saturday morning, which was hilarious. Chelsea did win, but they beat West Ham, which is, I suppose if any side's going to win, I'd rather it be Chelsea, because I think if any team is more competitive for Everton for those European places, it's West Ham. I think Chelsea will finish in the top 4 despite them being bounced by West Brom a couple of weeks ago. So again, West Ham still not picking up any points, so we're 3 points behind those, I believe, with the game in hand. Liverpool are only picking up a point, so it was a massive win. It was a massive win, like I said, not just historically in regards to another record broken for Everton Football Club, and there's a lot to be said about these records, and I want to talk about them in a second. Andy says, morning Cam, what's happening, Andy? If you're watching live, get involved in the live comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. If you're enjoying it, leave a like, subscribe. There's a lot to be said about the records that Everton have broken this season, and certainly, not one that we've broken, but one that's massively improved over the last 12 months or so is our away record. And I remember the days under Marco Silva and even other previous Everton managers, not just to dig Marco Silva out, where Everton would go away from home to pretty much any team in the Premier League and you sort of weren't expecting a win whatsoever, even against the lowest teams in the league and the teams that are struggling. You still wouldn't expect a win. We might beat Burnley the odd time or Brighton the odd time, but you certainly wouldn't be expecting to go to Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal and take all 3 points. And Carlo Ancelotti this season, for all as we can talk about just the home record and how that needs improving, and some of the games in which we've lost at home, which I agree are absolutely shocking, and we really need to sort of put our foot down on the home record because it's not good enough. The away record this season has been absolutely unbelievable, and ultimately Carlo Ancelotti deserves a lot of credit for that. Everton, I think, have got 10 away wins now. We've lost a couple of times. I think we lost to Chelsea. I think we lost to Southampton. I can't remember who else we lost to. We've only lost away from home 2 or 3 times. Newcastle as well. So even our away record, the couple of the games that we've lost, we shouldn't have lost. But the majority of games, we've beaten Leicester away, we've beaten Wolves away, we've beaten Arsenal away, we've beaten Tottenham away, we've beaten Liverpool away, we got a point against Manchester United away from home. Our away record this season has been absolutely phenomenal, and I've just said then at the start of the live stream, this is another record broken. Everton gone 25 years without winning at the Emirates. That's longer than the Anfield record was, and I know some people might say, that doesn't matter, it's just a record and it doesn't really matter if it's broken or not, but it does matter because these players are going to be going into Premier League seasons and will have been going into Premier League seasons prior to this one thinking, well, when's Arsenal away, when's Liverpool away, when's Tottenham away, we haven't won there in that long, we haven't won there since I've been at the football club, that's going to be a difficult game. Whereas now next season these players are going to be going in thinking, I don't really need to worry about when the next Merseyside derby is because we won the last one, and we proved that as a side and as a footballing side and tactically with the manager that we have, we can outplay them and we can beat them even at their own ground. We done it with Arsenal as well, we done it with Tottenham Hotspur at their ground on the opening day of the season. So a lot has to be said for these record breaking wins, and I get that. Look, it's more important in terms of the context of this season, that win, rather than the fact that we haven't beaten them in 25 years, but it's still massive. It's still absolutely massive because ultimately I've never felt a feeling of beating Arsenal away from home. And yes, okay, this isn't the Arsenal team of the early 2000s with Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp. This is what I've just said it is, merely a bang average mid-table Premier League Arsenal side. That's what it is, with a couple of quality players here and there. And there's an argument that Everton aren't far away from that either, because if you watched the first half on Friday, it really did seem like two teams that were just, couldn't really get control of the ball, couldn't really do much in the game, had the players that were good enough to bring the quality, i.e. your James Rodriguez, your Richarlisons, etc. They had Saka obviously on the pitch, but for the most part, just two relatively mid-table Premier League sides that were fighting it out to see who could win the game. It wasn't like we had an awful lot more quality than Arsenal did, or we absolutely controlled the game. I think we took control in the second half, but certainly in that first half it wasn't very entertaining whatsoever. But ultimately, like I said, it's not about how you win. I don't really care how we perform at the moment. I really, really don't. I'd rather us perform dreadfully for 90 minutes and take all 3 points than perform fantastically for 90 minutes and only get a point or not win the game. Because ultimately, at this point in the season, with 6 games to go and a genuine fight for Europe, it doesn't matter how you win. It's just about winning football matches. And Everton won that football match on Friday night. And hopefully now, that win can give us the momentum for the next 6 games for the last 6 games of the season to go on and to really get a good run of form. And we've got some winnable games there. We've got Aston Villa twice. I believe we've got Wolves. Yes, we've got Manchester City. Okay, understandable. We've got West Ham, who again have had a fantastic season this season, but we've still got some very, very, very winnable games, and games that you would expect Everton to take all 3 points in. And I understand that. We've said that on a number of times before on this channel. When we've played Fulham at home, we said we'd expect to take all 3 points. We didn't. When we played Burnley at home, we said we'd expect to take all 3 points. We didn't. When we played Newcastle twice, I said that we're definitely taking all 3 points, and we didn't. So whilst I understand that, there's been times this season where we've said we should win this game and we'll win this game and we haven't, I genuinely think that win on Friday night will be able to give us a little bit of momentum going forward, and hopefully give us that momentum to, finish us in a European place. I think it's really, really tight at the moment. It really, really is tight. And like I said, that last week after the Tottenham game on Friday or Saturday morning, I was sitting here thinking, I don't know if Everton will finish in a European position this season. I don't know if Everton have got the consistency. I don't know if Everton have got the momentum. I don't really, to be honest, I question whether Everton had the belief in themselves to want to finish in a European position. Now we're sitting here a week on, and we're sort of saying, well, that's a big win against Arsenal. That's a massive win. We're still within 3 points of all of those teams that are fighting, not just for the top 6 positions, but the top 4 positions. There's 4 or 5 teams now, 3 or 4 teams that are fighting for those, 4th, 5th and 6th position. And even 7th now gets you the Europa Conference League after Manchester City beat Tottenham yesterday. So as long as Leicester and Chelsea finish within the top 5, I believe, which is more than likely, 7th place will get the Europa Conference League. So top 7 places are now up for grabs for European football, and there's, 4 or 5 teams fighting for 5th, 6th and 7th and 4th even. So it's going to be difficult, and Everton, have to sort of take some momentum from this game and go on and get a good run of form in and hopefully finish the season strong. And like I said, it was massive for us to win on Friday, not just because of not just because of the fact that we hadn't beat them in 25 years, but the fact that we had 3 draws on the bounce, and it was all a little bit stale, wasn't it? We were coming on here, we come on here after Palace, we come on here after Brighton, we come on here after Tottenham, and we were saying, wasn't great today, we didn't take our chances, or we didn't have enough chances, or it was a bit slow, a bit lackadaisical, defensive mistakes cost us. So it's just finally, it's great to come on again and talk about a win, because we haven't won in a long time. I think West Brom away was the last time we won, and that feels like absolutely months and months and months ago. So it's nice to come on and talk about a win. We will get into the game in a second. By the way, Philip in the comments, he says, "Hi, I'm watching the League Cup final yesterday. It's a shame we got knocked out. We'd have won that Elite Six were crap." Well, look, again, Tottenham, Super 6 club Tottenham go another season without winning a trophy. Sacked serial trophy winning manager Jose Mourinho 6 days before the final. Well, look, Arsenal were a part of that Super 6 group, and if you look at them the other day, they didn't look like they could challenge bloody Burnley in the Super League, never mind Real Madrid. Chen Lar says, "Hey Cam, I'm doing a project on Bramley-Moore docks and the reallocation of Everton FC. Would you be able to answer the survey and perhaps share it?" Yeah, if you send me it on Twitter, mate, at MightyBluesYT, I'll answer the survey and I'll send it off for you, and I'll share it out as well. If you send me it on Twitter via the DM, I'll get it sorted for you. Roger says, "Hey Cam, off topic, have you seen this about DCL? Just him talking on a podcast about his journey so far." No, I haven't seen it, mate. Philip says, "What about DCL?" I haven't seen it yet. I've seen a lot about Dominic Calvert-Lewin talking about where he's come from and how grateful he is to Everton Football Club and how grateful he is to Duncan Ferguson. I've seen a lot prior, but I don't know if I've seen the podcast that you're specifically referring to. I think there was one with Sky Sports with Akinfenwa and maybe Laura Woods a couple of weeks ago where he's talking about a similar thing, so I don't know if it's that one you're talking about. Anyway, let's get into the game a little bit more. If you're enjoying, leave a like. If you could share the stream on social media and try and get as many people involved as we possibly can, it would mean a great deal to me. Like I said, the game started and I don't think neither team really took control of it. Everton, of course, lining up with a back four for the first time in a few weeks. We had Jordan Pickford in goal. We will go on to talk about Jordan Pickford later on in this game because once again, Jordan Pickford has won us that game of football. Yes, we can talk about the mistake from Leno. Yes, we can talk about, Alan's brilliant chip balls over the top. We can talk about Richarlison getting involved in the in the goal itself, but Jordan Pickford again has won us those 3 points on Friday night, and we said this after the Southampton game, we said this after the Merseyside derby, we said it after the West Brom game. Quite coincidentally, Jordan Pickford picked up an injury after the West Brom game, I think, so we seen him after that until the Tottenham game last week, and he wasn't at fault for either of the Tottenham goals. So I get that there's still questions out, which Roger says yes to the Laura Woods podcast. Yeah, I seen him talking about it the other day. It's a brilliant podcast. Definitely go and check it out if you haven't already, after this stream, of course. But yeah, I get that there's still fans that aren't quite, sure about Jordan Pickford and aren't quite convinced by Jordan Pickford. But one thing I would say is that after that Merseyside derby performance at Anfield, which I think we can all understand was was hopefully a turning point in Jordan Pickford's career. I mean, his Everton career was going really well until that Anfield derby where what happened in the last second, and now it sort of went on a rocky spell, didn't it? Good performances, bad performances, and then he had that Merseyside derby performance a few months back where he was absolutely unbelievable, silenced all of his demons, silenced every single member of the media who was wanting him and wishing him to fail, put a brilliant performance in, and since then Jordan Pickford hasn't put a bad performance in since then. He really hasn't. And again, on Friday night, he makes an unbelievable save in the last 2 minutes of the game, which ultimately wins us that game of football. That save has won us that game. We can talk all we like about, Richarlison getting in the right areas and Leno throwing the ball into his back of the net, but that save was the most important moment in that game for me, because it's won us it. God knows how Martinelli manages to get his foot on it. I think Seamus Coleman maybe tries to shield him out a little bit too cleverly, and Martinelli just gets his foot wrapped around it, and Jordan Pickford gets down so well, makes an unbelievable save. A couple of minutes later, he makes another brilliant save. It wouldn't have counted anyway because it was called for a foul, I believe, but still, he makes a fantastic acrobatic save. And again, we're coming out of another game, another win, and thinking, our goalkeeper saved us there, and I think we need to, as a fan base now, maybe sit down at the end of the season, and okay, we can talk about we can talk about Jordan Pickford's season as a whole, and the fact that, a good 5-6 games doesn't make up for some of the mistakes he's made previously, but ultimately we can sit here and say, let's give Jordan a fresh start after that Merseyside derby, after how good he was after the win at Anfield. If we're giving him a fresh start, then you can't really complain about his performances since that Merseyside derby, because he saved us 3, 4, 5 times and won us points. Not just saved us where we've won 6-0 and he stopped the opposition from scoring a goal. No, he saved us in games where if he wouldn't have saved it, we'd have lost points, and this one was a massive one. But we will talk about that a little bit later on in the stream. But yeah, anyway, like I said, neither team started particularly fast. Everton lining up with Jordan Pickford in goal, Luca Dean at left back, Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey at centre half. Michael Keane not involved in the squad whatsoever. It was then announced by, I think, Phil Kirkbride of the Echo, as to state that Michael Keane had picked up a hamstring problem, I believe, in training this week, and therefore wasn't going to be fit. Look, again, it's frustrating, because again, I think Everton are the only team this season. I was talking to Basil on Toffee TV about this. I think Everton are the only team this season who have had every single first team player out injured. And again, as much as Michael Keane didn't have a great game against Tottenham, as much as Michael Keane did make a couple of mistakes that, cost us against Spurs, ultimately, you still don't want your players being out injured. And when I see Michael Keane wasn't included in that squad, I knew it was through injury, and I put my head down a little bit and I thought, how unlucky how unlucky can one team be? Seriously, you can talk about your Liverpools and all of this and all of that crap. Everton have had the worst injury luck all season, bar none. Absolutely bar none. And again, that's blatant proof of it. Michael Keane, another player who genuinely throughout the majority of the season has stayed quite fit, picks up a hamstring injury in training and misses a game. Yet now, yes, didn't really matter much because we had, we've got backup at centre-back, but could you imagine if we didn't have backup at centre-back and Michael Keane was the only option and he's picked up an hamstring injury to miss out? Yerry Mina only fit enough to make the bench, obviously, after his return from injury, but Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey stepped in at centre-half. Seamus Coleman at right-back, which I was happy to see. We went into the midfield, then you had Andre Gomez, Alan, Gylfi Sigurdsson, James Rodriguez as a sort of midfield 4 in some way, shape, form or another. In some mad formation, I think James was playing more so alongside the 2 strikers up top, and then you had sort of Gylfi behind him, and then Alan and Gomez. Well, Alan behind Gylfi, and then Gomez sort of just running around trying to look like he's doing something. And then obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin making his return from injury with Richarlison up front next to him. Like I said, Yerry Mina made his return to the bench after his injury. Fabian Delph made his return to the bench and the team after his injury. I still don't know why he's come onto the pitch in the wrong socks. I'm not even trying to make a joke out of this. I genuinely don't understand how you can walk onto a football pitch wearing a different kit to what everybody else is wearing. It baffles me. But anyway, it was a strong Everton team. It was a strong Everton team. And again, you could look at it and say it lacked energy in midfield. You can look at it and say there wasn't enough sort of intensity in it. But that's been the case. That's always going to be the case whilst Abdoulaye Doucouré is out injured. We will never look at an Everton midfield and think, yeah, there's enough energy in that until Abdoulaye Doucouré returns to fitness. And that's something that Everton have to address in the summer for me. We talked on Friday about bringing in Max Aarons and how much of a priority right-back is. For me, you could even argue that another Abdoulaye Doucouré-esque central midfielder is just as important as any other position on this field, because now that we've had Doucouré out for a few weeks and he's probably going to be out for a few more weeks, hopefully he does make his return before the end of the season. Carlo believes he will, but he's still probably going to be out for the next couple of weeks or so. It just shows how blatantly important he is, because you look at that central midfield, and for as good as Alan is, and I think Alan had another good game on Friday, I think he'd come into it massively in the second half, and as creative as Gylfi Sigurdsson was against Spurs and James, there's just no energy in there whatsoever, and we were caught out a couple of times. Arsenal did get forward and did start to create opportunities at times in the game, and you're just sort of sitting there thinking this game is killing for just an injection of energy. And I want to talk about pace and energy in a little moment, because I think it's something that Everton need as a matter of desperation in the summer. But like I said, the game starts and neither team really gets control of it. To be honest, neither team's really, taking chances. Neither team's really creating opportunities. It did just look like a game of two sides that are coming towards the end of the season. I've struggled with injuries, I've struggled with form recently, and I'm sort of just thinking, we don't really know, we can't really be bothered here, if I'm being perfectly honest. And it was a frustrating and it was a boring half of football. It wasn't the worst half of football for Everton because, like I said, we weren't getting dominated. At Arsenal were all over us and creating chances left, right and centre. I think it's fair to say Everton had the majority of the ball. Everton had as many good, clear opportunities as Arsenal did, but it just was, again, it wasn't really a game where anything was happening. Neither team could cut the other side apart, and neither team really seemed like they had the quality, which was strange because we had the likes of James Rodriguez on the pitch, we had the likes of Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we had obviously Gylfi Sigurdsson in there, but it just felt like neither team really had that cutthroat quality to break the other team apart. And for me, it had a 1-0 written all over it, to be honest with you. Either way, whichever way it went, it had 1-0 written all over it, because you sort of thought whichever team scores the first goal here is going to just, is going to sit it out. It's going to be difficult for the opposition to get back into it because there's not an awful lot of quality, there's not an awful lot of opportunities being made. So, let's be perfectly honest, it's not going to be a 4-5 goal thriller. It's probably going to be a 1-0, maybe a 0-0 even. And that's what it was. Like I said, in the first half, I think the midfield struggled for the opening 15-20 minutes to sort of get their foot on the ball. Alan, as much as he come into the game, he did have a difficult first, 10-15 minutes. Andre Gomes. Look, I don't want to sit here and talk too much about Andre Gomes because it's very clear that I don't think he had a good game of football whatsoever. And I honestly, to be honest, as much as I like Andre Gomes as a person, as much as I think he seems like a really, really sound fella, I just don't think he's good enough to play in this Everton team. I just don't see what he offers. I don't see what Andre Gomes offers that, anybody else doesn't offer. He's a tidy footballer, yes, but the fact that he's got absolutely no energy whatsoever off the ball, and he doesn't offer us anything. What's Andre Gomes' role? What does he do? What does he bring to this Everton team that you look at and you think, yeah, that's imperative, he needs to be in there? But anyway, it's not about Andre Gomes. The rest of the midfield, James, Gylfi, all sort of struggled to get on the ball, even throughout the whole game. To be fair, James and Gylfi didn't have their greatest of games as a whole. I mean, the passing from James was brilliant at times, but in terms of creativity, he wasn't finding himself in the right areas, he wasn't getting in the areas to create, and it was frustrating. It was frustrating by James Rodriguez, but like I said, there was a couple of chances in that first half. I think Saka had the first for Arsenal where he gets into a good area in the box, he manages to pick the ball up, I think maybe off Luka Dean, maybe Seamus Coleman actually, in the area, and he cuts in to a difficult position, and he manages to to take the shot. Easy for Jordan Pickford in the end. Jordan gets down and saves it well. It wasn't too much of a troubling shot for Jordan, but nevertheless it showed that defensively Everton were susceptible of falling asleep a little bit. And you know what? Defensively, I thought we were quite solid on Friday night. I really, really did. I thought that centre-back partnership of Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey, I thought it worked really, really well. I thought Mason Holgate had his best game in an Everton shirt for quite a while. And Mason's played a lot of football recently. And Mason's played a lot of football this season. And he's played a lot of football in various different positions. He's played in midfield. A couple of weeks ago, he played at right back for the majority of the season, obviously, in December when we had the four centre-backs across the back line. He's played at centre-back. He's played next to Michael Keane, as he did in the game against Tottenham last Friday. He's played in a back three and he hasn't looked comfortable. He's played in a back four against next to Michael Keane, yet he hasn't looked particularly comfortable. I thought on Friday he looked really good next to Ben Godfrey. I thought it was a really mature, solid defensive performance by Mason Holgate, and it appeared to me like it was a defensive performance that he wasn't really focused on anything else that was going on. He was just focused on his own defensive duties, and maybe that's because he knew that. Maybe he thought being next to Ben Godfrey, they're both too young, not as experienced as Michael Keane and Yerry Mina are, so they need to concentrate a little bit more. Maybe he thinks next to Michael Keane, subconsciously, probably not consciously, because I don't know why he'd think this consciously, but maybe subconsciously, when he's next to Michael Keane or Yerry Mina, he sort of thinks, I'll be able to take my foot off the gas a little bit here. I'll be able to sort of, my concentration won't have to be as much because I've got a seasoned international level, centre-back next to me, so I'm sort of the inexperienced one here. They're going to look after me, and I don't think that helps Michael Keane either, to be honest, because I think subconsciously Michael Keane's thinking, I've got an inexperienced centre-back next to me who I've got to look after, and I don't think he deals well with doing that whatsoever. I think Michael Keane's best performances this season and his Everton career as a whole have been when he only has to worry about himself, and he's sort of confident that whoever's playing next to him can deal with themselves. But no, I thought Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate were solid, really, really solid. There was a couple of times when we allowed Arsenal to get into the box and we allowed them to create chances and they just weren't clinical enough whatsoever. But I thought for the majority of the game, they brought the ball out really well, they defended it really well, and for a centre-back partnership of two young, I don't want to say inexperienced, because Mason Holgate's played a lot of Premier League football for Everton and Ben Godfrey's played a lot of Premier League football this season, but obviously not as experienced as Michael Keane and Yerry Mina, and it was clear that Carlo Ancelotti obviously couldn't put Michael Keane in there because he picked up a hamstring injury, and Yerry Mina very clearly wasn't fit to start, so the onus was on Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate to go out there and put in a solid, mature performance, and the pair of them did. They were very, very good. Like I said it in the player ratings. I can't remember the last time I come on and talked about a Ben Godfrey performance that was anything less than a 8 or 9 out of 10. That lad is just absolutely spot on. Every time he plays football, he literally is. He doesn't make mistakes. He absolutely doesn't make mistakes. And even when he doesn't really have a game where he's massively involved in it, or he's not massively in the forefront, he's still defensively really, really solid. He's become Mr. Reliable. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ben Godfrey has become Mr. Reliable now. He's become that player that you look at and you think, don't have to worry about Ben Godfrey. Whatever Ben Godfrey's playing, don't worry about that position because he'll have it covered. He'll sort it out. He's brilliant, and that is so important, to have a young lad, 22 years of age, with all of his career ahead of him, all of the potential in the world. It's so important for you to be able to sit back and say to that player, or say about that player, you don't need to worry about him, he'll have it sorted. So many good young players that have come through Everton's ranks in the last sort of 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and you look at them, and as much as you think, they've got the potential, as much as you think, they're a good player. We do it with Mason Holgate, we've done it with John Stones when he was at the football club, we do it with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we've done it with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, where you sit there and you go, they're a good player and they've got all of the potential, and the showing sort of sparks of real quality, but they're still susceptible to a mistake. I remember Mason a few years ago, and even now, but I remember him a few years ago when he first broke in, he was always susceptible to making a rash decision. John Stones was the same, he was always susceptible to making a mistake. It's different with Ben, it really, really is. And I'm not just saying it's different with Ben because he's here now and we've only just signed him and he's sort of flavour of the year at the moment, but it really, really is different with Ben because he doesn't make mistakes, he doesn't try and make silly passes that he knows he's not going to be able to succeed. He doesn't try and take the world on. He'll take players on and he'll steamroll through players because he probably knows he's faster than the majority on the pitch, but he doesn't overdo what he's trying to do. He just does the simple bits, and he does the simple bits really, really well. And there's one moment that epitomises Ben Godfrey as a footballer, and he spoke about this himself recently. I think he done an interview last week where he spoke about how he sees himself as an old school footballer, and the way he trains and his regimes for football is very, very old school. I think there was an interview with, I can't remember if it was one of the staff members, I can't remember if it was Duncan Ferguson, to be honest, or it might have been one of the other players, and they said that within the first week of training, Ben Godfrey's throwing slide tackles in a Finch Farm, like going hard in training, and he remembers them all looking at him. He said, we all looked at Ben and thought, what is this lad? He's crazy, he's off his head, he's throwing slide tackles in, he's getting involved, he's giving 110% on the training pitch, and that is absolutely it's imperative, but it's also you can see that that's the type of player Ben Godfrey is, that whether he's on the training pitch, whether he's playing in the Premier League at Goodison, whether he's at Anfield, whether he's at the Emirates, or whether he's in the back garden with his mates or his brothers or whatever, he's going to go at 110% because he's a competitive lad, you can see it. And if there's one thing that epitomises Ben Godfrey, it's that sliding challenge. I don't know if you've seen it, Everton tweeted it out on Friday night, we tweeted it out on our Twitter as well on Friday night, and it's basically, I think Danny Ceballos has got the ball on the edge of the box, he's not threatening, he's not through on goal, there's still 4 or 5 defenders standing around him, and Ben Godfrey just comes through, and it's an unbelievable challenge. It's absolutely clean as a whistle. It's clean as a whistle, but it's a sliding challenge, and it's just so it's just so satisfying to watch. If you haven't seen the video, you might have caught it live when the game was on, and if you did, fair play, because I missed it, to be honest with you. I was just in the emotion of the game, so I missed it. But watching it back, it's so satisfying. If you haven't, it's on our Twitter at MightyBluesYT. Go and check it out. And the irony of that slide challenge is, as he makes it, and it's a perfect challenge, by the way, no foul, gets the ball cleanly. Yes, he gets the man, but he gets the ball cleanly. John Moss is having none of it, doesn't think it's a foul. But the irony of that challenge is, if you go and watch the video back, the camera pans and you can see Mikel Arteta and a good couple of the Arsenal players screaming for a foul. Is that what modern football's become, where a player can't even throw in an unbelievably clean sliding challenge and opposition managers and players are screaming for a foul? It was never a foul, it was a brilliant challenge. But like I said, back onto the point, I thought Mason and Ben were very solid on Friday night. I thought they put in a good, mature defensive performance, and that, there's a lot to be said about that, because again, other than, like I said, Mason's had games this season where you can sort of question whether he's good enough, whether he's ready, whether he should be in this Everton team, and the pair of them were very solid. Like I said, Arsenal had a couple of chances in that first half. Saka had one which was put into Jordan Pickford, which wasn't really much trouble for him. But Everton had one up the other end. Alan picking out an unbelievable pass for Richarlison. One thing I noticed massively, if you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. We will get back into the live comments in a moment. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you could share the stream, it would mean a great deal to me as well. One thing I noticed on Friday night was Alan's passing was just on point. It was absolutely brilliant. It was so clinical, and this one in the first half to Richarlison is perfect. It's a perfectly weighted pass, brilliantly timed, slots it round him, slots it round the defenders, and Richarlison on his first touch is brilliant, to be fair. His first touch is absolutely sublime. He cuts inside, he takes the shot with his left, and unfortunately it's just a bit too close to Bird Leno, who makes a comfortable save in the end. He gets down hard and makes a decent save, but the pass from Alan is pitch perfect, and the touch inside from Richarlison is excellent, absolutely excellent. He completely takes the defender out of it with one little switch of play, one little switch of the shoulder, and it's unfortunate that the shot is quite comfortable for Leno to save. But other than that, other than the effort itself, the build-up play was brilliant for that. It was a brilliant pass by Alan. Like I said, it was a great touch in by Richarlison, and it's just unfortunate that the shot wasn't there, wasn't strong enough, or didn't have as much curl on it, shall we say, to get it past Bird Leno. And that was really it for the first half. Nothing much happened other than that, to be honest. Like I said, it was a slow start from both sides not really showing their quality. The odd chance here and there, like I said, Saka's one was probably a half chance, Richarlison's one probably a half chance, but then we go in at half time and you're sort of thinking, right, can Everton come out now and can Everton come out now and really sort of put our foot on the gas pedal a little bit and get at them? Because there was one thing that was evidently clear in that first half. Well, there was a couple of things. One was that I don't think we pressed as high as we did against Tottenham. I don't think we wanted to take as many risks as we did against Tottenham, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because Carlo Ancelotti had seen last week in training that the effects of that high press and playing in that style had maybe a bit of more of an effect on the players in terms of their fitness and their fatigue, or maybe he just wanted to go with a different style and different formation or different tactic because we were away from home, and he wanted to sort of shore it up a little bit and not open ourselves. But I feel, just personally for me, I feel like if we'd have got at Arsenal in the same way as we got at Tottenham, if we'd have chased Arsenal down, if we'd have gotten on their toes and sort of forced them into making mistakes, because there was a couple of times when we pressed Arsenal high and they made defensive mistakes. They kicked the ball out of play, their passing was poor. So I just sort of feel like if we'd have done that a lot more, we'd have forced them into making more mistakes and potentially could have gotten the goal a lot earlier on and made it a lot more comfortable for ourselves, but we didn't. I also understand the flip side of that, whereas if we did play like that and then we got it on the counter-attack, Arsenal, even without Aubameyang and Lacazette and Ødegaard, Arsenal still had, Saka on the pitch, who's very promising in the attack, good, fast, tricky player, can shoot, as he proved the other day with the good shot in the first half. They still had the likes of Martinelli who come on, I think, off the bench and got involved. And Nketiah, who'd scored, I think, the week before and in the game against Fulham to get them a point. So they still had attacking threat, and maybe that's where Carlo Ancelotti was looking at. Maybe he was thinking, I don't want to open up too much because it might leave us exposed. But we come out in the second half. Like I said, one thing that was evidently clear and is evidently clear, and I think also becomes a priority in this transfer window. Again, we spoke about right back on Friday. We just spoke before about another central midfielder with the energy of Abdoulaye Doucouré to sort of to sort of replace Abdoulaye Doucouré when he's out injured. I also think it was evidently clear on Friday, certainly in that first half, that we just don't have enough pace in this team. Everton are lacking what arguably is the most important type of player for the Premier League side in this day and age, is somebody that can run at players. Somebody that not only, even forget technical ability, forget ability to shoot, forget ability to score, even forget ability to take on players with brilliant skill. Everton are lacking somebody that can run with real pace. Name me a player in this Everton team, an attacker, because I know we talked about Ben Godfrey before, but name me an attacker in this Everton team that plays along that front four or even in that midfield that's got absolutely unbelievable bursts of pace and then can beat players via his pace. Everton have always had it, even if those players weren't the best of quality. We had Aaron Lennon, who, yes, okay, mightn't have been, the greatest footballer in the world, but he won us 2, 3, 4 penalties every year because he'd just run at the opposition and he'd force them into making challenges and would win penalties off it. We had Theo Walcott. He'd come in and okay, I get that he's been loaned out this season and he's lost a yard of pace, but in his first season, his pace was hurting teams. We had Gerard Deulofeu, whose pace could hurt teams. It's absolutely, I can't stress how important it is in the Premier League to have players with pace, to have players that can run at the opposition, because the amount of times that Everton got into good areas on Friday, good crossing areas, good areas to take players on and force Arsenal into making defensive judgments and hopefully forcing them into making poor defensive judgments, and we just don't have the players with the pace. So every time, we're quite predictable to watch Everton, because every time we get that ball out to Luca Dean or James or Sigurdsson on the wings, it's only going one place, and that's a cross into the box. It's not going past you and they're trying to take you on. How many times do you see other teams when you're watching Match of the Day or you catch some of the other games on the telly where they have players who play on those wings who knock it past defenders and run onto them and get themselves into the box and either force the defenders into making a challenge or cut the ball across the box and create a good opportunity? How many times do you see teams with players that just get their head down and run and force defenders into making errors? Everton don't have that. Everton don't have a player who gets his head down, knocks the ball past the defender and runs. We know as a fan base that if Everton have the ball on the edge of the box, it's going one place, and that's a cross in. And okay, we've got unbelievable crosses of the ball in Luca Dean and James and Gylfi Sigurdsson, and that's fine. And that's meant that this season we've been able to score a lot of goals from those crosses, because a lot of defenders can't deal with that sheer quality of those players I've just mentioned. But it also means that in a lot of other games, when those players maybe aren't on the best of form, i.e. we haven't really seen a top form Luca Dean. We've seen a very good Luca Dean recently and a very solid Luca Dean, but we haven't really seen a top form Luca Dean in regards to his crosses into the box and his assists and stuff. We haven't really seen a top form Dominic Calvert-Lewin now for the last couple of weeks. So when we aren't seeing those players on their absolute brilliant levels of form, then we're not utilising those crosses into the box, and that means that we have nothing else. Look at the goal we scored on Friday. It comes through Richarlison taking on his man and getting into a dangerous area. Yes, it's a ridiculous piece of goalkeeping by Bernd Leno, but it's still Richarlison forcing Granit Xhaka into falling onto his arse and then getting past him. It's still Richarlison turning Granit Xhaka in the first place and getting the run on him. Richarlison's got a bit of pace. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got a bit of pace, but we haven't got one player in this team who can just get his head down, knock it past the player and just run. Yes, it'd be brilliant if we could sign that type of player, and he could also have the quality to take a shot from a wide area and bend it in, or to do the fantastic skill to force defenders into making a challenge. But please Everton, just go out in the summer and sign a tricky fast winger who can knock it past players and force defenders into making mistakes, because we simply haven't got that in this Everton team. And it means that when we're getting into those wide areas and when we're playing the ball around nicely and we're passing it around nicely and we get into a good a good position in the pitch, attacking wise, it just means that either we're lumping the ball into the box that's easily defended or we're going backwards. And we've seen that a couple of times on Friday night where we were getting the ball into Luka Dean or Sigurdsson or Hammers in the wide areas, and because they didn't really think there was a suitable cross on into the box, it just went backwards and it started again. How good would it be to just have a player who gets his head down, knocks it past the player, and either forces them into making a challenge for a penalty? You know what? Ultimately, three things are going to happen in that situation if you've got a tricky player on the wing. They're going to knock it past the defender, get taken out, and win a penalty. Brilliant. They're going to knock it past the defender, try some skill, and the defender's going to put it out for a corner. Great. Or they're going to get past the defender, cut it across the box, and more often than not, you're going to have somebody within that box. We've seen Gylfi Sigurdsson do it a couple of times this season when balls have been thrown in from wide areas, hanging around that sort of 6-yard area, with the ability to side-foot it into the back of the net, because we know Gylfi Sigurdsson has got that ability. He's a very good footballer, Gylfi Sigurdsson. So if you've got someone who's got a bit of pace and got a bit of energy and got a bit about them, who's cutting that ball into the box to the edge of the 6-yard box, and you've got Gylfi Sigurdsson standing there, I'd put, again, I said this last week, I don't have an house, but I'd put my house on Gylfi Sigurdsson burying that. Because that's what he does. Richarlison, more than likely, would bury it. James Rodriguez would bury it. Dom would bury it. So, out of the 4 possible outcomes, the worst outcome is they get tackled and then the opposition come up the other end of the pitch. Big wow. Doesn't really matter. It's not a massive issue. It's just so evidently clear, and it wasn't that first half, because there was 4 or 5 occasions where we got to the edge of the box and we just didn't know what to do and we just went backwards. Please, Marcel Brand, you've just signed a new contract. You know, you're halfway through your project at Everton. You've now got a big summer with Carlo Ancelotti. Please sign a tricky winger who's got skill, who's got pace, who's got the ability to take a shot from the edge of the box, but just first and foremost can run at players, because we haven't got anybody that can run at opposition players and force them into making mistakes. Anyway, before we get into talking about the second half, I want to talk about the penalty situation. I want to talk about the goal. Obviously, I want to talk about Jordan Pickford again. But before we get into talking about any of that, let's get back into the live comments. Philip says, okay, Roger Tar. Andy says, morning, Cam, mate. Morning, Andy. I hope you're doing well. Ryan Evans, he says, alright, Cam, sent you the link to that Carlo Ancelotti talk on Instagram. You might be interested in it. Right, mate, I'll have a little look at that. Thank you very much. I'll get onto that after the stream. I'll check it out. Cheers, Ryan, really appreciate that, mate. Hope you're doing well yourself, lad. I'll have to get out for a pint soon. Roger says, yes, the Lord of Woods podcast. Hazard says, alright, Cam, hope you well. Great result. Make sure you do the quiz as losing Rockets left, right and centre. I will get back on the quiz. I will get back on it. Just today I've got a little bit of time later on, so I will get back on it today. Ryan says, unpopular opinion, Everton should have signed Gazzaniga. He's an underrated goalkeeper. I like Gazzaniga, I do, but for me at the moment, look, I'm happy with Jordan Pickford. I am, and we will talk a bit about Jordan later on, but I'm happy with Jordan Pickford. I think he's had a really, really good sort of last 2 or 3 months after that Merseyside derby. He hasn't put a foot wrong, and if he can continue that form going into next season, I said after the derby, after the Merseyside derby, that this could be a turning point for Jordan. And if Jordan Pickford goes the rest of the season putting in decent performances, winning us games, winning us points, and not making silly, goalkeeping mistakes, then I'd be happy to go into next season with Jordan Pickford as our number 1. If he then has a good game after the derby and then continues to make silly mistakes and continues to make rash decisions, then yeah, fair enough. But I said I'm happy to give him the rest of the season, and if he impresses me and he doesn't do anything stupid, I'll be happy to give him next season. And so far, with 6 games to go, not only has he not done anything silly, but he's won us 3 or 4 games. He won us the game against Southampton with a great save at the end of it. He won us the game against West Brom with an excellent save. He's won us that game on Friday against Arsenal with an excellent save. So I'm happy with Jordan at the moment. I get there's still 6 games to go, and obviously we'll see what happens in those 6 games, but I'm happy with him. Hazard says only 13 likes on a watch. I've got 19 now. If you could hit that like button if you're enjoying it, would mean a great deal to me. It only takes a second. Roger says Jordan's matured this season. He has, I agree. Hamek says, I don't think a goalkeeper is a priority. Is Olsen staying? Well, we'll wait and see. There's rumours left, right and centre about Robin Olsen as to whether he will or he won't stay, so I think we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Joshua says Pickford TX Arms decided to bring out some manoeuvres. I thought he was excellent. Philip says Jordan Pickford could well save Everton millions and millions. I say get behind him. He's a great goalie, really. I agree, Phil. I'm with you, mate. Joshua says the next 2 games will decide where we finish. Villa and West Ham are going to be very tough games. They are, but both of them must-win games. Hazard says 28 on the watch along now. Hit the likes is right. Joshua says, didn't Carlo come out and say we are getting only 2 or 3 players and a midfield aren't a priority for us? Yeah, he did, but again, I hope that's just a bit of I hope it's just a bit of talk from Carlo Ancelotti, and I hope that, realistically, Carlo's going to know. He knew what we needed last summer. He knew we needed the creative player. We brought in James. He knew we needed some energy in that midfield. We brought in Decore. He knew we needed a little bit of grit, so we brought in Alan. So I just hope that Carlo Ancelotti's saying that just to sort of, again, lower the maybe make it a little bit of a secret. Philip says, I know I was joking, but Arsenal could have demanded a replay due to Delph wearing the wrong kit. Yeah, mate, I don't even know. Gamba says, still think Yerry Mina is better than Allgate. I do as well, mate. I just think Mason had a really, really solid game. Philip says, Allgate seems to have calmed down again. Wonder if Carlo told him to stop munching gum and posing for Hello Magazine. Hazard says hit the like and retweet, thank you very much. Ian says, after watching the highlights again, you have to give Alan man of the match. Yeah, you know what, Alan was he was excellent. He was absolutely excellent on Friday night, and again, I've just watched the highlights, and there's 2, 3, 4 passes that Alan makes which are just exceptional. Chip balls over the top, the one for Richarlison in the first half is a great pass. His passing on Friday was absolutely brilliant. He didn't start the game as well as maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes. He struggled to get into it, but everyone else did as well. But for the rest of it, he was so solid. Gamba says Carlo plays defensively for a draw sometimes. Fair enough. Ian says we even pass the ball slowly, and as it says yes, and most definitely backwards. Yeah, we do. Chenlar says, cheers Cam, I've just sent you the survey on Twitter, thanks so much. Is right. And movie worm Jordan, what's happening? I'll get onto that survey, by the way, Chenlar. Jordan says, hello mate, just hope we can get a run together now and just go for it. Defo, agree, need a winger, and I've needed one for a few years now. We can run at players. Would you be happy with Aaron's? Agree about Pickford too, always back them. Yeah, I'd be happy with Aaron's, mate, I would. But I agree with you completely. We need a winger. We need somebody that can run at players because we just don't have that. Big thanks Jordan for getting involved, really appreciate that, mate. Go and check out Jordan's channel, by the way, if you're into movies, if you like your movies, your film, your TV, your games, get out, go and check out Movie Worm. Brilliant channel. Just hit 1k as well, so massive well done to Jordan. Fantastic channel, and Jordan's a mate of mine. Brilliant lad, so go and check him out. Anyway, let's get into the second half then. Again, it was a little bit more lively, wasn't it, in the first half? It was a little bit more lively. Both teams come out and tried to create chances. I think Arsenal had a corner early on, and Rob Holden, I think it might be, who gets on the end of it with a volley and just steers it wide of the target. So it is off target by quite a distance. It goes over the bar, but ultimately, it was still a threat. And then a couple of minutes later, they go down the other end. Danny Ceballos has got the ball. Richarlison stands next to him. I think he looks at him the wrong way, and Danny Ceballos decides to throw himself on the floor, dives, and wins a penalty for some reason. John Moss gives it. VAR doesn't even take a second to look at it and gives it. And then, obviously, it goes to another VAR decision for the offside, and the offside's given, and the penalty is chalked away. Now, I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans reacting to this. A lot of Arsenal fans saying this isn't football about the offside. The offside's a bit ridiculous, I'm going to be honest with you. Is it offside? I don't know. When they do all these lines and it's so close and it's literally little centimetre differences, I don't know whether it's offside, to be honest. I don't care because it didn't count, and I made up that it was offside because it means that Everton have gone and won the game. So I'm not really bothered either way, but I can't sit here and say, yes, he's miles offside. He must be offside because otherwise VAR wouldn't give it. So very literally by the law of... But the law, he must be offside in regards to, even if it is by a centimetre or an inch or a millimetre, he still is offside. Is it ridiculous? Is it a ridiculous rule? Yeah, it is. But what's even more ridiculous, forgetting the offside, if you're an Arsenal fan watching this, waiting for me to talk about this, forget about the offside. What's even more ridiculous is that it was given a penalty in the first place, because it's never a penalty. Even in this day and age where the slightest touch of a player means that they go down and it's a penalty. Even in this day and age, that is never, ever a penalty. I've watched the replay 3, 4, 5 times, and Richarlison's end of his boot must just graze Danny Ceballos' shin pad. That literally must be all of the contact that's in it, because there's not a chance that there was any cleaner contact than Richarlison's boot grazing Danny Ceballos' sock. It's the biggest dive I've seen in a while. And oh look, was Sky Sports talking about it? No. If it was Richarlison, it'd still be getting talked about now in the papers. Richarlison diving again. Richarlison diving, always dive, biggest diver ever. But no, because it's Danny Ceballos, who, by the way, does that constantly. He's done that in the game against Everton at Goodison Park, and he's probably done it. I haven't watched Arsenal all season, but I dare say he's probably done it in every game Arsenal have played this season. But no, not mentioned because it's Danny Ceballos. It's a blatant dive, and it's never a penalty. And forget about your offside and your VAR rule for the offside. That isn't why football. That's not, Arsenal fans saying this isn't football. No, it's not. You're right, it's not football. Being offside by a centimetre or whatever isn't football. But players throwing themselves on the floor, crying after I'm not even going to say being touched, because I don't think he was touched. I honestly don't. I just think he saw Richarlison's boot and maybe felt the wind of Richarlison's boot, breeze past him, and he's gone down. That's not football. So for as much as the offside, you can say it's a bit ridiculous, it's clearly offside because it wouldn't have been given otherwise, but it's never a penalty in the first place. It's absolutely never a penalty, and I'll sit here and I'll argue until blue in my face with any Arsenal fan and with any football fan whatsoever that isn't a penalty. It's not a penalty. It really, really isn't. And ultimately, look, it's a ridiculous decision and it's waved away, rightly so. Yes, the offside's a bit stupid, but it's waved away, rightly so, because it never should have been given. John Moss had fell for the peer pressure. I don't even think he's seen it. I just think he's seen Danny Ceballos crying and thought, well, he must have been fouled, otherwise he wouldn't cry, because he obviously doesn't know modern day footballers. And VAR, I'm disgusted at VAR, to be honest, for giving it. I really, really am disgusted at VAR for giving it, because it's never a penalty. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do leave a like. Subscribe if you're new, only takes a second. Really, really do appreciate all of the support. But yeah, like I said, the penalty's given initially for the contact, and then obviously it goes to the offside and it's waved away. Everton probably do get away with one, because ultimately, again, as much as it wasn't a penalty and as much as there's no contact, I think we should learn this season that when you're in your box defending, lashing a foot out, sticking a foot out probably isn't the best thing to do, because with the level of the referees in this league, the lack of level of referees in this league, how bad the refereeing is in this country, just don't, ultimately, don't kick out. Just don't kick out. We've seen Andre Gomes do it early on in the season and he give away a penalty. We've seen it before in this time this season. It's getting to the point now where footballers are going to be actively told and probably actively convinced to not make challenges in the box, not make defensive challenges. Ben Godfrey's going to be absolutely fuming with that, by the way. But anyway, penalty gets waved away. Like I said, shouldn't have been a penalty in the first place, to be honest, but it was given for whatever reason. But it's waved away. And we go up the other end, obviously, and again the pressure's on Everton. Then bit of a wake up call, if you like, for Everton, because it could have easily been given a penalty and we could have easily been 1-0 down. Bit of a wake up call. We go up the other end again. Alan plays another absolutely exquisite ball over the top, brilliant chip ball over the top. And this time Richarlison gets on the end of it again, turns Granit Xhaka inside out, gets on the edge of the box, knocks it past Granit Xhaka. We just spoke about needing a winger who can knock it past players. Richarlison did do that on Friday. Doesn't do it enough for me, but did do it on Friday. He sent Granit Xhaka into the stands. Basically, he sent Granit Xhaka into the protests with the fans outside. I even think I seen a picture of Granit Xhaka with the shin pads on, holding the banner outside the Emirates after it, because he completely sent him for a coffee. Gets into a tight area, and I think actually Richarlison is looking for a cross, to be honest. I think he's looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin maybe at the back post to steer it in. He gets into a good area. He tries to cross it across the box. Again, I've watched this goal 4, 5, 6 times. I still don't know what Bernd Leno's doing. I really, really don't know what Bernd Leno's doing, to be honest. Bernd Leno manages somehow to try and pick the ball up. It goes underneath his legs and it goes in. And even I think every Everton player was sort of standing there going, I'm not too sure what's happened there, but it's gone in. VAR then spends 4 minutes checking for an offside. That's blatantly not an offside. They were just looking for an excuse not to give it. Let's be honest, they were looking for an excuse not to give it. His foot, I can't remember who the defender was. I think it was Xhaka, actually. His foot is about 4 miles further forward than Richarlison's is. So it's clear from the first angle it's never offside. So I don't know why they looked at it for so long. And yeah, Everton are 1-0 up at the Emirates with 10 minutes to go. And you're sort of thinking, well, how is that gone in for a start? But we'll take it. We'll absolutely take it. Like I said, far too many times I've seen as an Evertonian in 22 years that type of goal happen against Everton, where the opposition, where our defenders or our goalkeepers have made the shocking mistake in the last 5 minutes and cost us a game of football. I'm so happy to say that it happened for Everton this time. And yet we go 1-0 up, and then we have to just defend for the final 5 or 10 minutes, defend the lead, go out and show the game up, and that's what we did. And like I said, that's where Jordan Pickford comes into it. For me, I give him man of the match, and as much as I've watched the replay and I've watched the highlights, and Alan does have a great game and Alan's passing was on point, I'm still going to give it to Jordan Pickford, because ultimately I still think Jordan Pickford wins us that game of football. Arsenal are attacking as they were, to be fair, in the home game, and Jordan made a brilliant save, I think, by Xhaka, as they were, as West Brom were, as Southampton were, and Jordan Pickford's made fantastic saves to keep us in the game. He's done it again. He's absolutely done it again. They're coming through. Martinelli this time, I think, Coleman's trying to shield Martinelli. Martinelli manages to get a foot on it, gets the shot away, and I don't even think Jordan Pickford's expected it, to be honest with you, because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting Martinelli. Even watching the replay, you would swear Seamus Coleman was shielding that ball out of play comfortably, but he doesn't. Martinelli gets his foot around it, and Jordan makes an absolutely unbelievable save, and that save has won us that game. Literally, I think it goes out for maybe a corner, comes back in, foul's given, they have another shot, he makes another brilliant save, Jordan, but a foul's given, and then the game's over with at the end of it, and you're looking at it thinking, okay, the general consensus might be that we've won that game through a horrible goalkeeping error at one end of the pitch, but in reality, we've won that game through an unbelievable bit of goalkeeping on our side of the pitch, because it was an excellent save, and it's a save that Jordan's made that's won us another game of football, and ultimately a game of football in which we desperately needed to win, because in the context of this season, it's put us right back in that race for Europe now, and it's a brilliant win. Let's get into the live comments then before we do finish up the live stream. Ryan says, Lookman looks sharp and fast at Everton. It's a shame to see him go. Yeah, I think his consistency was a little bit questionable, but I like Lookman. If you're enjoying, by the way, leave a like. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Just share the stream. It only takes a second. Julian says, Cam, mate, if you're ever down in London, I'll take you for a pint. Love your channel and your knowledge. Thank you very much, mate. That'd be great. I'll be down in London, I think, June, July time. So yeah, if you're available, we'll go out, but thank you, really appreciate that. Football World of Movie says, Rubber the Green went our way, but buzzing we got a double on Arsenal. What a result. Spot on, mate, absolutely spot on. Ian says, that's the shite, won the league by scoring with loads of deflected corners and VAR decisions going their way. You're spot on. Gamba says, we are with you with that offside. Hamek says, Carlo lies in press conferences, and I'm fine with that. I think he just hides information. Carlo Ancelotti's a manager that's been involved in football for a long time. He knows what to say and what not to say to the press. Ian says it's true that refs get paid 140k a year. I don't know, but if they do, I'm baffled. Hazard says if it's that true, then money grabbing. Liam says VAR has to go, Cam. Human error we can take. VAR feels like you're being institutionally stitched up. Not that I'm arsed this time. Anyone who thinks that the top four isn't on it is mad. We have to go for it. 5 wins. Yeah, spot on. We get a couple of wins under our belts, and if West Ham drop points or Chelsea drop points again, then we're right back in it. Hazard says yes 100%, and Ian says yeah, Pickford has turned a corner, marvellous save at the end. That wasn't on the highlights too. Yeah, brilliant save. I don't know why it wasn't on the highlights, but it's won us the game of football at the end of the day. It really has won us that game of football, and ultimately Jordan deserves a lot of credit for that. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. Again, like I said, a historic win. First time we beat Arsenal in 20 odd years away from home, 25 years away from home, and first time we've done the league double against Arsenal in 30 odd years. Not the greatest performance, not the greatest of games, not the most, memorable of games, shall we say, but ultimately a massive win within the context of this Premier League season, and a massive win for this Everton team in our fight for Europe. Jordan says massive game versus West Ham soon. It certainly is. Yeah, look, if you've enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. We will be back tomorrow with another live stream. We're going to talk more about Everton and what we need next season and how we can improve this squad. Big thanks to everybody for getting in the live comments. Really do appreciate it. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. Massive thank you for watching. If you could leave a like, it would mean a great deal to me. If you could subscribe to the channel as well, it would mean a massive amount. Big win, massive win. Hopefully we can get some momentum going now. Hopefully we can get some like I said, momentum on our side for the next 6 games of the season and go and finish strongly, because European football is really in our hands now, and that win in the context of this season, at this point in the season, doesn't matter how you win, doesn't matter how you perform, as long as you win. And Everton have won. Hazard says, brilliant review again, Cam. Cheers, mate. And Phil says, nice one, Cam. Cheers, Phil. Big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Big thanks, and we'll see you soon on The Mighty Blues.